When life gets stressful, many of us dream of escaping to a peaceful paradise with clear, warm water. These paradises often lie in the midst of impoverished countries like Honduras. Stories of the violence and poverty in Honduras flood the news. But off the coast of the mainland, on the outskirts of the violence, is an island paradise called Roatan. On the west side of the island of Roatan, you'll find West Bay, an oasis of tourism. But on the east end of the island is a solitary paradise called Port Royal, a place where people with money spend millions of dollars to own beautiful houses and private islands. Many of these estates remain empty, except for the 2 or 3 weeks a year when the owners arrive to vacation. In the meantime, they pay caretakers to live on the property and maintain it. These caretakers are men who live alone 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, for years. Away from the crowds, away from their families.
At first it coming in a little lonesome, for me, like the first 2 or 3 months, But I don't feel lonely anymore here,
Eso sí, no sé qué es miedo. Para mí no sé qué es. Desde que ya tenía razón de adolescente, yo nunca he tenido miedo, ni en las noches, ni en el día.
So I got 10 years working here in the property.
The best part is good that I got a job. The bad part here that I have to live sometimes by myself, no power and stuff like that.
Cuando él tiene luz, yo tengo luz. Cuando no tiene luz, yo no tengo tampoco.
Ya me acostumbré a vivir aquí.
After going through a rough time, I told a friend that I needed solitude. He offered to let me stay at his villa in Port Royal. As I sat on the dock every day watching the sunset, at the same time, on the opposite end of the same island, there was another world full of social activity.
Mi mala lo que quieras no te va a devolver. Millones de colores, ninguno te hace bien. Te dice vos seguime, que hay mundo más allá. Sos perfecta soledad.
I wake up at 5 in the morning. I walk down here on the beach and see that everything is all right. And then afterward, I go and make my breakfast.
What's for breakfast?
I make some pancake this morning, some beans, piece of cheese, and white butter. So right now I'm gonna clean up the edge on the beach. Then I pump water from the well up to the tank, and then clean up in the guest house. So then I have to figure out what I'm gonna make for lunch.
Do you know what you're making for lunch today?
Not yet, so I have to figure out what happened. Before bed sometime, I talk to my mom, to my daughter, see how she's doing. Afterward, I go to bed around 8.
George cares for a 12,000 square foot villa that sits on a 7-acre estate. When George arrived 10 years ago, there was a staff of 20 men and women caring for the estate. But it's been 4 years since anyone has lived on the property full time, and George is now the only worker who remains.
Well, I didn't really get no education at all. I think the reason because situation of my parents, wasn't too good. And dad didn't really care much at all. And mom, she used to be so busy, trying to work into maintaining her kids,
Education in Honduras is free through the 6th grade. After 6th grade, many children discontinue school and begin working to help support their families. With a 6th grade education or less, there are very few opportunities to rise out of their income level.
I went to 6th grade school and I didn't keep on stuttering because afterward and I decided
when I work. I like that everybody can study, so everybody can keep moving forward. If I can do it, it'd be good too. But I don't have no money, so I can't do it. My parents them didn't have no money either, so that maybe that's why I didn't keep on stuttering or something like that.
Without an education, it's hard to get a professional job. A little bit that I know, that's one of the best jobs I can ever think about having.
Armando maintains 2 acres out of a 13-acre property. The owner of his estate is an American who comes 2 weeks a year. Armando spoke with gratitude about the generosity of his boss, who had helped him financially to build a house for his own family. From my point of view, Armando was a victim of circumstance. But maybe the same could be said for his boss, a man born into a situation of wealth or privilege, who plays his role in the economic system as well. Arriving to Port Royal means driving away from the touristy west side and through local, more impoverished neighborhoods. These vast differences between wealth and poverty were apparent from the moment I left the airport. At the end of a gravel road is the small coastal town of Oak Ridge, where the main form of transportation is by boat. From the town of Oak Ridge, a 20-minute boat ride brings you to Port Royal. I would be staying at the villa that George cares for. On the boat ride, he informed me that I was the first person to actually spend the night there since last year, and that there was no longer electricity. Without candles or flashlights, I would be like him, waking and sleeping with the sun. Despite the obvious beauty, there was a profound loneliness, a sadness which echoed of times long past. A house once lived in, but now abandoned. I could envision the dinner parties, the romantic nights, the leisurely afternoons, a time and a place that now existed in memories, and possibly forgotten. There were, however, some island inhabitants who had a much more active social life than their city counterparts. Also, George's dog was the most social and would frequently gather the neighboring dogs together. Mac was recently adopted by Armando after his owner died and was sad and depressed. Oso made himself responsible for cheering Mac up. Armando's dog Sheba frequently came next door to play with Oso and whichever other dogs Oso had gathered. Gracie and Romer belonged to the family a half a mile up the coast, and once or twice a day would journey through the jungle and call for Oso to come play. When playtime was over, Gracie and Romer would head back into the jungle towards their house. Zeus was Armando's dog who was too mean to be let off leash. But Oso, being concerned, would find moments to be near Zeus so that he didn't feel alone. From the dock of the villa, you can see a 5-acre private island. This island is the definition of paradise, with tranquil beaches and panoramic views. There are 2 quaint beach cottages which were once occupied but now remain empty, except for the occasional visitor once every other year. George's dad, Jorge, is the caretaker of the island. He lives here alone and only goes home to see his family once a month or so.
Jorge Estrada trabaja aquí en el Cayo rastrillando, limpiando todo aquí. Solito aquí, tranquilo aquí. O la soledad para uno piensa tranquilo. Solo tiene que pensar en comer nada más. hacer comida.
Y no aburrido.
No. Aquí tengo 5 años y medio.
¿Qué quieres que no tienes?
Mucho dinero.
¿Y qué harías con mucho dinero?
Mantener mi familia lo mejor que pueda. 10 años.
Sí.
Creo que ya no tengo nada que hacer. Solo cuidar a mis hijos.
On each of the properties, there's a modest house where the caretaker lives. Jorge lives in a one-room cabana. By using one solar panel, he has constructed a machine that generates electricity. George's house, which sits on the property behind the villa, is bigger than his father's, but is in need of a lot of repair.
The roof up there too, it leaks whenever it rains.
George has a small generator he runs a couple hours a day to charge his phone and sometimes watch a movie before bed. But the gas to run it is expensive for him, so he mainly lives without electricity. How often do you see your wife and daughter?
Every 5 days, sometimes, if not like every week.
Their families live in the small town of Diamond Rock, which is on the north side of the island. To arrive at Diamond Rock is a 45-minute hike over the mountain and through the jungle.
Twice a week, hike up to the mountain and get to my house. My wife and 4 kids.
I was curious about this walk through the jungle to their small town, so I got George and Oso to take me on the hike. What they considered an easy hike consisted of places with no trail and walks past territorial dogs and deadly snakes. Snakes? What kind of snakes? Well, this is exciting. At a certain point, I decided it was easier to walk in the ocean rather than the non-existent trail. The path up the mountain had been carved out by Armando and his machete, and I found myself on all fours a couple times since my flip-flops were soaked and slippery. George informed me that it would soon become more treacherous, so I made the decision to turn around, and we never actually made it to Diamond Rock.
Hombre, como 20 años de
20 años trabajando.
la propiedad aquí.
Sí.
Cada allá. No, es de los mismos dueños. ¿Sí?
Oh, okay.
A mí me da donde vivir aquí.
¿Tienes miedo? Nunca.
Aquí no hay peligro.
No, solo tranquilidad.
Ah, sí, es correcto, ¿no?
The owners of the land Rolando cares for come once a year and only pay him to get the place ready before they come. But they do allow him to live in the caretaker house, where he has lived for the past 20 years.
Otra diversión hay aquí. Solo bote.
¿Qué comes?
Frijolito.
Frijolitos.
Arrocito, pollito.
Y cuando estás aquí todo el día relajando, ¿en qué piensas? Nada.
En una esposa.
Cuando no tiene que pensar.
At first, I pictured them sitting alone for hours, thinking deeply about life. But I realized that it was possibly safer to think of nothing than to be confronted by a world of possibilities they may never have the means to explore.
This wasn't my plan to come here to work. I would want to be a mechanic. After I came here, then I didn't get to do anything like that, but I wanted to do. The Lord helped me. I wanted to try to go off. It works on boats, fix engines, stuff like that. I love that. So I need to take my course. I already got the basic, so how to get my engineer course. And afterward, then they give me a license. Maybe I get a chance, maybe this year or next year, see what happens.
With a salary of $12 a day and having to pay for gas, food, and his family, the likelihood of George ever saving enough money to get the certification to be a mechanic is slim. He's asked some people for loans, but can't get any. At 31 years old, he understands the likelihood of him growing old in this job, like his father. I asked him how much it would cost to take the course to get certified. He told me $300. $300 is what I had spent to go diving with a local dive master while I was staying at the villa. $300 is all it would take to achieve his dream, and it is a near impossibility for him. I thought of my own dreams of obtaining over $1 million to make movies, and how that seems like a near impossibility to me. $300 to one person is someone else's $1 million. A once-a-year paradise to one person is someone else's entire life. The more we begin to notice the worlds outside of our own, the more we meet the people whom we never speak to, the more of a chance we have of creating a world without so many limitations. A world where everyone can afford to have a dream.
Hace frío en la ciudad, nos chocamos, pero no